kidding me, dude? I'm just here chilling out. I just wanna.
The way you said makeup and hair, I thought you were saying make a pair. Make a pair.
What? No.
And I was like, make a pair? What does
Bruh,
that mean?
Kyle, make a pair right
this
now.
This is how you know this
Yeah.
man has not been on set. This is how you know.
Yeah, I haven't. Are you kidding? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I go around all the time with like a tray and I just go like makeup hair. Like I'm not even I'm a PA today. I'm not even filming, but like makeup and hair. Please get in here.
Exactly. Yep. Oh my God, we're live. Hi, hello.
Hello.
Oh my
Look at
goodness.
that.
Oh man.
Let me there we go. Hello and welcome back to Stop, Talk, and Roll. That was fun to say. Welcome back.
Woo!
Wow.
Definitely.
Joining us today, we have once again our Dungeon Master Daniel Kim.
Whoop, that's me.
And we are joined by two members of the cast at the moment. We might get some more later on, but we have Gavin, who plays Post with Mist.
What's up, y'all?
And we also got Kyle, who plays Artie.
Woo!
Hello. 50 subs for a base reveal.
Hello. You heard the man.
Every
Get those
single
subs
person who
going.
follow us.
Any
needs to-
primers in
needs to
chat?
sub.
Any primers in chat?
Primers in chat?
No, none of that.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, we were just talking about that heat. How
Dude.
how are y'all doing about that?
Yeah, I know that
crazy.
Chicago heat, right? Must be so rough for Chicago, you know. Gosh, so hot all the time, right, Gavin?
He's
Always hot.
just silence.
Oh.
Just complete
Uh-oh.
silence.
Oh, he's muted.
We can't.
Oh!
I think your mic is off.
Your mic is off, brother.
Oh, here I am.
Oh, you're
here I am.
good,
Okay,
you're
okay.
good,
There you
What
go,
about
there you go.
Chicago?
Well, I was talking about the Chicago heat. It's real hot, right?
heat,
You know,
it's always hot
super
there.
hot today in Chicago.
Oh, it's tall.
Yeah,
It's
toasty.
it's like 5,000 today, man.
Yeah,
It's
you
so
know.
hot.
5,000.
5,000.
Yeah.
Kelvin.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, it's fully
I
like
don't know how that works.
it's fully
but-
like
That isn't
it's
how it
April
works.
30th, and it's fully like 45 here right now, so it's pretty cool.
Gotcha. That is very
Damn.
cold. Yeah, it is.
It was
Hence,
like-
hence the beanie.
It was like in the high 30s the other night, and I was like freezing my butt off. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It was
I can't
crazy
imagine.
because like for us in California, like you're in 45 right now, we hit like 100 today. It was crazy. Like it
Yeah.
came out of nowhere. I like woke up this morning and just got smacked in the face with a heat wave. I was like, maybe I
mean,
should like open my
with-
window. Like I thought,
with
like
heat
did
waves,
like my
I feel like
brother
it's
fart?
more like a smother than a smack. You know what I mean? It's
Oh,
like this.
yeah?
It's like this
Yeah.
sort of like
An enveloping.
dripping.
Ew.
Exact enveloping. That's how
Yeah,
you put it.
yeah.
It combines
Yeah.
with our lovely smog and just gets this nice aura.
So good.
It's an aura, and there you go.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's a
Oh
little
my
gross.
God.
Anyway, so yeah, it might get a little warm in here. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, my God, I'm facing a western window, my room. So I like once it gets past
Oh.
like midday,
You're just gonna
the
get
sun
golden
just
hour. Just
right into like look at this. You see that little? Like,
Oh my God.
It's coming to kill you right
Sauron's
now.
eye is like opening in the middle of your forehead.
I see.
Just give me that again.
Yep, it's
Oh my
coming, dude.
God.
I've been in a Lord of the Rings mood all week, which is why I'm glad we're talking about D&D today.
Let's go.
Because you know,
Hell yeah.
anything else that I could do to get that squish that fantasy itch, playing some Skyrim, talking about D&D. So I'm good to go. I'm ready here.
Should be a fun time.
Hell yeah. So first of all, I would like to open it up with that. And we didn't talk about this, Daniel, when we had our one-on-one, but the genre of fantasy. How long has that been like a part of y'all's life? Like for me, like I grew up watching Lord of the Rings and like Star Wars, and I was just obsessed with the King Arthur mythos as a kid too. So
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
how long has fantasy been a part of your guys' life? I guess.
Gavin, I'll give this one up to you first.
Dude, I love fantasy, man.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I probably video games is like the primary, like longest running inspiration there. Just Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age, all of the worlds. I mean, Lord of the Rings as well, but like the medieval fantasy has always been my favorite things. Knights and wizards and bards and whatnot. Yeah, and it's interesting how like you can do D&D in any world, but it's just D&D is fantasy, like medieval. That's what it is. That's
Yeah.
like where it came from, and even to this day, like 30 years later, that's what it still is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Video games
Yeah.
primarily, I guess. Yeah.
That's a, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a great way to
I mean,
experience it.
it's crazy. I think was this year the 40th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons?
Was
Or
it
35?
really?
It was like something like that.
It was 1974. I just
1974.
looked it up.
Okay.
1974. So
not quite.
it's been like almost. It's been
40.
what?
Almost 50.
Oh, almost 50 years.
Yeah,
that's
almost 50 years.
In 3 years, it'll be 50 years.
Yeah.
Bruh.
That's
Crazy,
ridiculous.
dude. Imagine if we could celebrate 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons on this.
We honestly.
That'd be so
we
sick.
could.
I can't imagine it,
I
but
mean,
like
it's-
that'd be sick.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, 50 years of gaming with, Dungeons and Dragons. And like you said, it really had its roots in European, like specifically with like Celtic and Slavic myth, and a huge inspiration from Lord of the Rings, from Tolkien's actual like world that he built and wrote about. So, it really does have its birth from fantasy. And what about you, Kyle?
I was relatively new to the game, so when I never really played that like many video games until college. My roommate played it, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And so I had like a little MacBook, and I was running like this way too intense game on my MacBook that was just overheating like shit. Like the fan was completely overclocked. I gotta like. When I finally played it, I literally had my fan from the outside window, and I had to hold my computer at like 45 degrees, and I was like, now I can play video games. Don't worry, guys.
Now I'm a gamer.
Now I'm a gamer. It's okay. But yeah, so then eventually I like got a gaming laptop. I'm like, okay, I'm committed. And then my roommate was like, hey, want to play D&D? And I was like, oh god, I'm all in now. There's no turning back. But it was so much fun.
So was that your first like experience with fantasy stuff too? Was college?
like I would see like movies here and there, but honestly, I wasn't really that invested until college. So I'm pretty young into the game.
Relatively new to the genre and the
So-
game. Well, how has it been treating you so far?
Oh, I love it. It's like
I mean,
the best part of my life, probably. Don't tell my wife.
wow.
I'm kidding.
Mac, Mac isn't watching. Sorry, Mac. We love you.
No, it's
We
okay.
love
She
you
can't-
and the
she-
dog.
She can't figure out Twitch. It's a
Alright.
complicated thing. It's okay. But yeah, no, I love it. I think it's great because it's just so much like, I don't know. I love the analytical. I mean, I'm an engineer. I have that like logical mindset, and being able to just sit down and know like, oh, I can do these 15 things, or for my character, I have these 20 whatever spells that I can cast. How am I going to like properly utilize them to make a difference? I think that's really interesting. And there's no like right answers. It's just, it has enough of the logistics, but also just randomness that you need to think on your feet that I love it.
Yeah, randomness, dragons and magic and just pure chaos that obviously doesn't make sense and you put it in real world context. But
Hey, I'm insulted.
like you said.
My world building's better than that.
Obviously,
yeah.
the world we're in, it makes zero sense.
Okay,
And,
all right.
and you know what? You know what too? You could always just say a wizard did it if there's any plot hole.
Dude, your fish turned into a
Dude.
dragon, bro. That's not even like, dude, that's not even a real fucking thing, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Polymorph, true polymorph. Come on.
Yeah, only like ancient Chinese mythology, it's like, it's nothing. Dude.
Yeah, but in mechanics you can do that too. But it's it really does. I like what you said about it having that sort of analytical feel to it, while having the spontaneity and improvisational feel that is just the heart of Dungeons and Dragons. Is that you have these pre-written modules, but that only tells you so much too. Like talking about starting with Gary Gygax, it really came from the chemistry and the back and forth between the people sitting at the table that made the game what it is.
And also Gary wanting to kill like literally all of his players. So
Yes.
there's that too.
You don't create the beholder unless your players really pissed you off.
I mean, you guys know this, right? Like you guys know about Tomb of Annihilation. Have you guys heard of that module?
Oh yeah.
No.
Like
No.
Gary made that to like destroy and piss off his friends.
Just to piss off his
Which
players.
is like
that was the only reason he made that
crazy.
adventure, was just to piss off and annoy his players. Like,
Yeah.
that is the reason why that. And you read
Snaps
it,
for that.
you read through the module and you're like, oh, I can see this. I know, yeah.
This man hates someone.
Yeah,
he hates his friends.
The
yeah.
puzzles just don't make sense 90% of the time.
And then on top
And
of that,
all
it's like
the boss monsters you fight just are horrible. And then at the end, you just don't get the treasure.
You don't get it.
It's like the whole reason you've been going through this module is just like, haha, no.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like on top of all of it, like he has like these monsters that'll just like kill you, just straight up one hit kill you. And you're like, what was I supposed to do, Gary? Like, what was the counterplay there? And he's like, no, I just wanted to say fuck you and just do that. So I don't know. I feel like it's awesome, and God. I would never do that to you guys. Ever?
Not yet.
But also you might.
Just wait until the
I was
50th anniversary of Dubs
a few more counter spells and Daniel's gonna come at me.
No.
For the 50th anniversary, Daniel and I will homebrew an even more annoying version of Tomb of Annihilation, just to put y'all through.
Yeah, and murder us all.
It'll
exactly.
We'll only play like Undertale soundtrack like the entire way through the dungeon, and so you guys would be like, just kill my character, dude. I don't want to be here anymore.
Just that like boss battle music on repeat.
Just on repeat.
Just when I hear boss music, it's just all the time. You know.
And we were talking about fantasy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, what? DK, it's Dylan. What's up, buddy? Thanks for the follow, bro. Thanks for being here. That's my friend Dylan. We play League together.
Hello, Dylan.
What's up, Dylan?
So, Kyle, you had talked about how you're a pretty analytical, logical person. And I heard through the grapevine that, and an engineer, like you said, that your character, Artie, might have started out a little bit closer to that engineer, analytical side of you than he currently is. If I'm correct, you started out as an artificer.
Yes, he did.
So, were you inspired to choose artificer because of who you are and what you were studying?
Yeah. So actually, when Andrew came to me and was like, "Hey, I have this best D&D group in the world. We're all actors and are all professionals and streaming live on Twitch at Stop, Drop, and Roll D&D." I was like, okay. How the heck am I going to do that? I am the furthest thing from an actor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play a character who's so socially awkward and just the most like to himself quiet. That way I don't need to worry about role playing. Like I don't need to feel guilty about being bad at RP because like I'm just in character, guys. It's what Artie would do in this situation. So that's how I started off. That was my inspiration for choosing a artificer. I was also like, oh, it's a one shot. I'll do a character I know nothing about, like, because that's how I initially started. Was I was just like here for a session, and then I convinced Daniel to.
You convinced me,
to never get rid of. Yep.
Yeah,
never get rid of me.
He stuck me a Benji under the table and went, "Hey, Daniel."
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, man." Hey.
I was like, okay. I handed him a Ziploc filled with dice, and I went, you take good care of that. Don't use it all at once, all right, buddy?
So, what prompted the change to Chronergy Wizard then? Out of this, because I mean, talk about a huge thematic shift in terms of just a character. Going from someone who builds everything and creates their magic items and relies on tangible mechanical things into someone who takes chaos and creates order and makes more chaos out of it. How did you, what inspired that shift in character?
I blew up a friend. That was a big deal. I was like, oh,
Kyle.
It's honestly like, I'm not Artie. I can't go back in time to revisit the past, but I think that was a big deal for me because I was like playing this more damage focus, like, oh, I'm gonna blow things up, fireball, have this cannon, like push everyone off the edge. And then as I was in combat, I found myself playing more control style. So I was like, oh, I'm casting my fairy fires, I'm trying to push people, I'm not doing the like pure damage output. And then when Artie had his whole like blue Poe up, I felt extremely guilty as Artie and as Kyle, and I was like, okay, I need to go through some sort of shift in my mindset as a character. So that's where I was like, oh, I went to Daniel, I was like, hey, I have an idea of like switching over to more of a control heavy wizard focus rather than this artificer, like just trying to blow things up. And then I love it. I think it's so much fun playing Chronergy Wizard. There's so much like
Very
unique stuff, and I just love all the spells. I think it's so cool. Just flipping through my spell book throughout the session. When things go wrong, it's nothing like just going, come on, one of these things has to have something that can do.
Oh, that's
frantically
those are my
flipping through.
favorite moments for you in the session is when I throw a problem and you're like, oh god, you're going through like 20 pages
I'm
of
like,
notes. You're like,
okay,
what spell do I have for
Damn,
this?
Amen and Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, just always rope trick. That's
Yeah,
the answer.
Yeah, it's
Rope,
like
rope trick is
rope
the
trick
answer.
always is the answer. You know.
That's a pretty fun
Oh,
spell.
yeah, always, always.
I love
and
that. That's really cool, Kyle.
Yeah,
That-
that's-
like.
That's a great way, I think, to sort of inspire a character change. And saying that you're the furthest thing from an actor, but I mean, really, that came from a character-driven point of view, where you're like, "Hey, I felt guilty, and I wanted a shift in how this character was going to be interacting with this world now. How do I do that mechanically?" So, I mean, you did sort of bring that in, sort of in the mindset of the character there. Anything that you miss about Artificer now that you are a Chronergy Wizard that you're like, oh, I really wish that I could still pull this out if I could?
I think I read an article when I first started playing Artificer, like how to flavor their spells. I think there's some really unique flavoring. So like the easiest one I can think of is Cure Wounds. Instead of being like, oh, like I magically put my hands on someone, it's like I take a syringe out of my back pocket
Yeah.
and shove it into the guy. And like those sort of things are like yeah. Or like Fairy Fires, like I have this like bomb, like a little like hand grenade basically I throw and it like explodes into powder and like lights everything up that it lands on. So I think I really enjoy the flavor of some
Takes notes.
spells that you can do. The flavor of Artificer spells that's something I do miss, because now everything's like I go back in time or I go forward in time or I pull magic, where I feel like it's more difficult to flavor.
For sure. I mean, I think that Artificers almost sort of push the envelope into that sort of steampunky area, not quite as like I am technology and making things now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can do that if you wanted, go further into the clockwork things. But I mean, even with let's call them like classic spellcasters, so like sorcerers or wizards or bards, you still have material components. So I mean, nothing's really stopping you from like
That's true. I
like
need to
pulling out
learn
these
my
material components and being like, I crush these crystals in my hand and blow them outward with them turns into a prismatic spray or whatever it is you're doing.
That's true.
To
Yeah,
sort of
I
still
feel like
ground
I need
yourself.
to
if you
sit
wanted
down with my spell book and start reading through those
I just
weird
got, like, the
components.
best image of Artie like pulling out a crystal and like a mortar and pestle and being like, guys, give me a second, okay? I need to, like, it's gonna take like 30
Just
minutes.
working on it.
Hang on, please.
It's like, hold on, I'm grinding it, okay?
I guess there would need to be a lot of prep.
I'll cast my spell in
Yeah,
about 4
especially-
minutes.
I feel like I'm such a heavy reaction caster. Like
Hmm.
a big chunk of my spell are reactions, which also makes it very challenging, because I'm like, oh, how big of a deal is this crit? Like, what's the odds that that's gonna kill him? Is it worth me like temporal
Absolutely.
shunting him, or is that spellcaster gonna like hold person my team? You know what I mean? So I think that's
Yeah.
also a lot of my spells are like reactionary, so I feel like I'm just doing them instead of flavoring them, but
For sure.
I should be flavoring them.
Well, I mean, there's
need to sit down.
to me, there's no right or wrong way to play this game, and it's just different styles of how you do things. But I love too how you talked about wanting to play a more sort of control based, and it's sort of that guilt is what drove that decision. And what you just described right now is like what you said, like I'm a huge reactionary caster, and a big part of what I do is, oh, is that going to hurt my friends? Are they going to hold person my friends? Everything you just talked about was the defense of your party and trying to circumvent any sort of damage or harm being done to those around you, which definitely sounds a lot different than what you described with the Artificer sort of just going around blowing stuff up all the time.
Yeah, my party started blowing themselves up, so I think I had to change my point of view.
The job was taken, so you
The
got
job
to
was
get other
taken.
shoes. Yeah.
Ben
Other
came
people.
along.
Ben and Joko came
You're
in
gonna
and
do
they
Becca
really
dirty like
spiced
that?
things up a little
She's
bit.
not
I'm
even
like,
here.
I-
She's suffering.
You don't even need a
and
gun.
you're gonna do it like that?
Shoot shots here. All right.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Joko took an ice knife. That was really
that was
funny.
good. That was
I
a fun
enjoyed
one.
that moment. That was a good one.
Ice Knife is such a fun spell, and you get it early on.
It's really funny.
That can do some like crazy damage at low levels. She does not look happy.
You know.
I do see one of Becca's questions for Gavin, and that actually goes into one of the general questions that I wanted to ask. So I'll ask this to you specifically, Gavin, and you kind of already talked about this, Kyle. So Gavin, in what ways are you similar to Poe or different, if at all?
That's funny. I feel like
on a date,
I definitely. You know, I think we're dissimilar in that ways. I'm in a 4-year long-term relationship, so thank you.
Great.
Is it better than D&D?
Kyle,
Don't
you
answer
know,
that. No, don't
we'll
answer
talk
that.
later.
No. I'm talking over you. You're not allowed to answer that.
Oh my god.
Oh man. But you know, I think actually a lot of what I created Poe as in the beginning to be like, Poe is definitely very much like me, but like more of the like unrepressed side. Like, I think Poe often says exactly what I'm thinking, which is probably just lazy character work. I'm like, Poe is me. I'm Poe. I mean, I created him in the very beginning, and he was very adjacent. I mean, he talks basically like me, etc., etc. But I think he's just like the more chaotic version of me, basically. Yeah, I have him as chaotic on my character sheet, and I think he just he like values relationships in the same way that I do, and sort of sees people and has a similar perspective to that I do, but he's just a little less restrained, which or a lot less restrained, as a lot of the party members can attest to.
But Gavin, is he just like your id? He's just your id, like
Yeah.
turned into like
Dude, I
halfling
think
form,
so.
just like
Pure
running
id.
rampant.
Well, there are God, I don't know if this happens for everyone. It probably does. I don't know, but there are so many times when like Poe and Joko are arguing, or Poe and who the fuck ever are arguing, and I'm just pissed. I'm just pissed off. And then the session ends, and I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, God, I'm just angry. Like, don't they understand?
That's why we're not in person.
Gavin would run
No,
over and just punch him in the face.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Um,
and I would argue that I don't think that's lazy role player, lazy character building, because I mean, especially as an actor, I was talking to Daniel about this earlier today, that, you know, so much of what we do is find ways to find ourselves in characters to make it more accessible for us to become these people. And
True,
so
yeah.
given the reins to create our own characters to then embody in this world, in the story that we're telling, it makes sense that you'd want to create someone who is easily accessible, so that way you can worry about the rest of the stuff, the mechanics of the game, the world of the game that you're learning about. You don't have to sit there and get acquainted with this person because you know who they are.
Mhm.
So if anything, I don't think that's lazy. I think it's smart, and it's interesting because Poe's still in a very different situation than you yourself are.
I
Gavin
sure hope
isn't
so.
in any real
I have my
danger.
soul.
Gavin, do you
I
have something
sure
that you
hope so.
want to tell us, buddy?
Exactly. But
Something you wanna
it's,
tell us?
you know, if anything, it's fun to think about, like, okay, well, Poe is similar to me in this way, but like you said, you know, he's a little less restrained. So
It's
perhaps
Andrew.
he can make some different decisions than you would.
Yeah.
What's up, Andrew? Hello.
What's up, buddy?
What's up?
Yo,
What's up, dude?
We were just
Yeah,
I
talking
am-
about you.
so tired.
Bro.
We were talking about
oh.
who could win in a fist fight between you and Gavin.
Yeah. And all of chat said Gavin. It was wild.
Yeah, it was
It's
pretty
insane.
crazy.
It's
One-
just
one
complete
punch.
unison.
Me with one punch. With one very
You
clean
know,
punch.
Gavin got pretty close with those Sally ups, you know. So like, I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can quite say that, dude. I don't know if you can quite say that. That's an
Oh,
joke for the
wow.
boys. All right. By the way, I'm very much like my character in game. I
Mhm.
feel like God most of the time.
Snow?
So I generally wave my hand, and then
You identified
there
as Snow.
You
are
both
just
went in
things
very different directions.
that just appear in nature. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And things
You
always
are
go
100 different people.
I
But they
am.
don't
I
envision you,
house.
right?
Like imagine Split and I'm James McAvoy, but like times 400, and that's my daily existence.
Well, actually, I think that's a good time also to ask Becca's question for you, Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
Is what is a surprising turn in this game that you didn't expect? Because as the dungeon master, you can only do so much prep until your chaotic ass party gets a hold of what you've built, and then they mess it all up, and then something beautiful happens.
You know, I want to be a little more charitable than that. I don't know if mess it all up is like the verbiage that I would use. I would say like they get a little funky with it is probably what I would say.
Funky.
Okay, yeah. If we want to talk about the most surprising one, yeah, it's when they went, "Oh, demon. Let's go in and do that. That sounds fun." I introduced like Grost as this one-off like ancillary thing with like another character, and then Poe died because Artie blew him up. So I was like,
whoa.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
I asked if he was healthy.
You confessed to
He
your crimes,
said
sir.
he was
Hey,
healthy.
hey, it's created
I was
an
like,
amazing
hey, how
story,
you
dude.
looking? He's like, I'm looking great. And I was like, cool. Fireball
Kyle.
centered itself. He was like,
Kyle.
I'm down. I was like, what the hell?
If Daniel texts me and he's like, "Hey man, how you feeling today?" and I'm like, "I'm feeling okay," I don't think he's gonna like shoot me through the window in the next moment.
Yeah, if someone texted me like, "Hey man, how you doing?" and I was like, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not like saying, "Yeah, I could survive a shotgun blast right
I
about now."
could survive a fatal injury.
Hey,
I'm not expecting a grenade to go off right next to me.
if Artie says it again, I'm sure Poe will be much more honest.
Absolutely.
Hey Poe, how you doing? I'm
Don't
dead.
blow me
I'm
up.
on
Don't
the
blow me
ground.
up.
I'm
These are my
dead."
exact hit points. 38.
On a scale of 1 to 87, theoretically, I would look like a 12.
Oh man. Anyways, so when that happened, it was during a train heist. It was an awesome sequence. It was just really unfortunate that it happened. And to be honest, it wasn't Artie that killed him. The explosion went off, and then Poe went unconscious, which in D&D terms is dire, but it's not like you can come back from that. Yeah. The problem was that Gavin rolled a nat 1 on the death save, and then immediately after that, there was a creature right next to him that made damage at the start of its turn to anything that was within 5 feet. So he just died because of unfortunate timing and just unfortunate choices around. And so I was like, this is really interesting and really exciting. And it was weird to me because they had a cleric in the party. They had a cleric that they were currently partnering with for the rebellion, and I was like, okay, they're probably gonna go there, they're probably gonna ask it, I'll probably have a couple of conditions, but like that's fair. And then Zach, who plays Emran, was like, let's summon the demon. And I went and I rolled with it. I was just like, okay, I guess this is how we're doing it. I had them roll something to see if it would be successful. It was, and Poe got brought back to life. That was so unexpected and really amazing, and it's created so many insane consequences since that point for the generals. Like they lost, like the rebellion, like completely shifted gears because of that choice, and one of the party members left because of that choice, and it was crazy. It was an insane time.
So, that definitely sounds like a twist that you couldn't have seen coming.
Nope.
But that's interesting.
Nope. But it was fun. It was really fun. There's been a couple others too, but that was fun.
Before I move on to Andrew to ask our new arrival a question, Gavin, how did you feel in that moment? Like, were you worried? Like, oh, that's it. I'm that's it for Poe. Like, I got to roll up a new character, or like what was going through your head?
When I first died, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'll make a new character. Okay, cool. Colin, long ago member of the party, he did the same thing. He was killed in battle, and he re-rolled a new character. And I was like, yeah, that's what's gonna happen. But Daniel is so damn quick on his feet that within that very same session, when everyone was like, oh, let's summon him back with Grost and do all this stuff, at the end of that session, Daniel was like, hey man, you're a hollowed one now, and you can multi-class in Warlock. This is your new life. And I was like, fuck yeah. I'm so in. Hell yeah. It was so awesome. And like, you know, in narrative, Artie has apologized so many times to Poe.
Mhm.
But I think like me and Poe, we both like it kind of, I don't know. There's consequences for Poe. But me, I love it. I'm so glad it happened. Kill me whenever you want, Kyle. It was sick. Honestly.
It was
Heard
sick.
it. You heard it start
yeah.
next session.
You know
Yep.
it.
Great, cool. Yeah, it made Poe more fun to play and have like a constant obstacle to work with, which is just fun. So, yeah. But initially, I did think that I was just gonna move on to someone new.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a very interesting place to take a character that, you know, it's great that you embrace that, I think, and just went with it. And seeing this new facet of this character. Andrew, hello, welcome. You play Joko, correct?
Yo,
Awesome.
I do. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about Joko. A question that was asked a little bit earlier from Becca and myself had thought of this as well. How are you similar to Joko in any ways? If so, what are they? How are you different from this character that you've embodied?
I would say that Joko and I have divergent opinions on politics and the nature of authority. He's definitely an extremist. He is Antifa super soldier, definitely. But
Mm-hmm.
but I think for myself, I think the characters that I've the character of Joko has definitely been impacted by my own like interpretations and experiences over lockdown and over like the last few years in my own like getting more invested in like politics and stuff.
Yeah. And general question now for the three players here, and one of you can take it or you can take turns, however
Can I
you want to do
quickly
it.
share a thought?
Please
on
go
this
ahead.
note?
Mr.
All I
Dungeon
got
Master.
was the image of like Joko in the freaking Captain America cowl, just like as Captain Antifa. Like that's all I got, with just like a massive freaking shield.
Hey, Zach.
It
Yo.
took me
Hello,
Yo,
Zach.
what's
Hello.
up, dude?
Long time no see.
Long time
How
no
are
see,
we?
homie. Oh, great time.
Prodigal.
No, I totally thought the same. But as soon as he said Antifa super soldier, I was like, so Captain America.
Captain Antifa, dude.
Captain Antifa. But so the general question, and hello, welcome, Zach. You can answer this as well. Is so you know, some of you have started in person and then you've went online because of quarantine and everything going on, and then you made another huge shift pretty recently now, starting streaming on Twitch in front of an audience. Now, do you think that's changed the way that you approach playing the game, being these characters, interacting with one another? Do you find yourselves holding back at all, or does it really feel like nothing's changed? Now there's just people that are enjoying this with you. Any one of you could take it.
Like I've gotten a few offers from people who've watched the stream, but generally like it hasn't impacted my well-being too much. So like I think it's worth keeping up. But yeah, that's
Well,
cool.
Congratulations on those offers.
Oh yeah, I mean it's to be expected, but
Of course.
it's
I hope
it's the price of fame.
Consideration.
What do you take? Like,
Are we talking like business offers or like?
I'm gonna have a talk with our investors after this, and we're gonna talk about a pay cut.
Are these
Like a
late night
courtship?
offers?
Late night off.
Oh,
whoa. We are not streaming
Wow.
on just talking, okay? We are on
Oh my
talk shows
God.
and pod tag.
wow.
You keep that. You keep
Wow.
that just chatting chaff out of here.
Just
Out of
chat.
here.
Out of
Get
here.
out of here. Yeah,
They're
I've
not
never done
just
one of those
chatting.
before.
So
I'll answer your
yes.
question.
please.
There was a question? No.
Yeah,
I don't know what you mean. I I think by and large nothing has changed for me. The only thing that has changed, and like I think as actors we know this experience, that the second anyone is watching anything, there's just a layer of like, oh, my focus, this has my attention fully because I know I'm being watched in some way. And that's not really like a good or a bad thing. It just is a true thing. So I think the only thing that's really changed for me is like my attention, really. Because in the past, when we would do campaigns, it was much easier when it was just a thing we were doing together. Just like when you hang out with anyone, to tune out for a bit, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, oh, this is Zach's bit here. So I'm just gonna like tune out a little bit, just check out, and even if it wasn't voluntary, it would happen. But now
it's
there's
hard
just a
to
little
keep your
bit
attention
extra.
on anything that goes longer than like 20 minutes, let alone 3+
Yeah.
hours. I mean, it's completely
Totally.
understandable.
And now it just feels a little more like, just like there's a little more like stepping into it, a little more focus and attention to it, which to me, for my experience, has only been a benefit because it makes me like more fully enjoy and like embrace what's happening, and without having to work that much harder because it's just natural. So
Absolutely.
That's-
I mean, it that sounds like a great thing that has happened, sort of stepping into the character more so and into the role of a player at a table that is now just has an audience as well. That's great.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything that they want to share with that? All right.
Bro, Zach, you want to take it, dude?
Radios.
I feel like
Zach?
I feel like nobody
I'll
just wants
say-
to step in and be like, "Oh, me, dude." Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say something. Coming in, making up for lost time. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Gavin said, where it's a matter of, there is a heightened perspective that you naturally take, where it's just, you feel an energy and that grabs you and you want to absorb that, internalize that, and give that back, because people are, naturally like giving us their time, even if it's to 5 people, 10 people, whatever, you know what I mean? But ultimately, you don't want the game to change. And that's something that like everyone here has really made the effort of, is that this is such a fun thing for us. We want to share this because we think hopefully other people will have fun with it. So we don't want to change that at its root, because if we change that at its root, then what's the point at that point? You know what I mean? So yeah, so I think approaching it with all the same mentalities, but being flexible to how things might feel in the moment is really the key. And it's been a really fun adjustment.
That's great. I mean, and from what I heard from talking to Daniel before the stream was ever a thing, and then getting to see what it's become now, it really does seem like the heart and the core of this group has stayed very much the same through this change. And it makes me, from an outside perspective, very happy to see that. And I'm sure you all are just elated that that's the way that things have turned out as well.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
So,
when
while we
first
still
did
have-
the first stream, like when we
Go ahead.
first wrapped it up, we all like came off of the first stream and we went, dude, that was like, I forgot that we were streaming. Like we were like, I forgot that we were live, and it was like it was
forget
an
every
awesome.
time.
It was an awesome feeling, and it's consistently felt like that. It's like, oh, I forget that we have people watching this. Why are you watching? And like it was rad, and we were like, oh yeah, we're still doing our thing. I for one will say, like, as the DM, one thing that has been awesome to see is like, and kind of along the lines of what they were saying, is just from a DM's perspective, like there will be times where you have to go like, okay guys, just so you remember, like this person's over here 20 feet away, this person's here. Like I have to do that way less, which is so cool. And like even when like someone is like, hey guys, what's going on real quick, like someone else like will want to join up and be like, okay, we are going to do this is what is happening, this is what happened, like, and we're going this way, and people like locked it in like so clearly, which is crazy. I'm like, I don't have to do anything, I could just like sit back.
I think we try to stay in character a little more, because it does feel, and I think that's a good thing. I think sometimes breaking out of character too much, even though it's like okay, sometimes it ruins some of the feel. So that's one thing that I'll say that I think is a positive that I enjoy. That's why we want to explain it, because it's like, oh, my character wants to explain it, not like, oh, I, Kyle, am filling in whoever.
Right.
That's great. That's really great. And
I love
Zach,
you guys.
just joining us.
Absolutely.
Tell us a bit about Emran. How would you describe her? How is she similar to you? How is she different? Something that you've enjoyed stepping into be her.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I found out we have the same horoscope today, so that's interesting. Um, completely random tidbit. Somebody posted a thing about birthdays and horoscopes, and I was like, "Oh, I have the birthday of a rogue. Great. All right, cool." But that's completely beside the point. Or it's with the point. I don't know where you land with astrology. But fun little fact.
Did I create a
Emran
horoscope for
is-
our universe? Do I have the
no,
constellation set?
somebody posted it was like a random
Yeah.
tidbit of just like all these
If you're a
different
Pisces,
calendar.
you're a
Exactly.
bard. If
Yeah.
you're a- yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
am I that insane? Like, did I do that? All right,
I
good.
wouldn't
I'm
put it
glad.
past, but I don't think
I'm glad that I
listening,
did it.
bro.
All right, continue on.
Yeah,
Continue on.
absolutely. Emran's been a really fun character because it started as a seedling that was already kind of a part of this universe, and then took a completely left frickin' turn in a way that, like, honestly, I wasn't expecting. It was just one of those things that, in all honesty, like walking into first session, it was one of those, some characters you have really figured out really ahead of time, other ones that kind of come as you get into the room, and there was just a voice that came up, and we're like, that feels something right. All right, let's go for that. And it was really like the voice and kind of this quirk of her being this cook and being this short but kind of badass energy that was quick to fight. I really just let the rest fall into place. She's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of there. I think when you come to any character, whether it be in any capacity of anything when you're RPing, whether it be in this game, in a cosplay, in whatever it is, I think that there, or if you're acting in a theater production, I think that there is an element of yourself to bring to anything, because you find things that you find the things that you relate to, and I think that there certainly is some things that I relate to with Emran. There's some other things where, like, these are the wild parts of my personality that I don't, because that probably doesn't function in society. Let's put it in the game. But yeah, she's had a really cool arc, man. I'll say the alignment scale is 6 ways to Sunday, and sometimes we don't really know where it's at. But she's really fun to explore, because it's that whole playing within the ballpark of a rogue and getting up to their antics while still maintaining something that's interesting for my other companions to be a part of, and not completely throwing things to the wind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a fun balance. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. And we've talked to now the 4 of you about these characters at their core, and like how much of yourself you see in them. What would you say? And this could be something that's happened on stream, in the game, or in your backstories for these characters. And I have a feeling I know what Pose is. What would you say would be your a most like pivotal shift for this character, or something that like just completely either changed them and set them on the path they're currently on, or something that like defined their life? And that could be backstory on stream, or when it was still just the home game. But just talk to me about something that you think, this was definitely the moment that I think my character became what they are today, or has set them on that path to find themselves. Anyone want to start?
Yeah, dying for me. And
Dying. Yep.
moving on.
maybe
I have
maybe
mine,
even
but I was
what
just talking,
came
so.
after dying.
Yeah, coming back.
I know mine, but I was just talking, so if somebody else wants to take the buck for a minute, and we can circle back, or
I have a
Kyle, you guys
weird
got it?
one.
go for it.
I think
Okay.
mine was when Fen joined, which I think is a very different thing. But when Fen joined, the power dynamic of the group suddenly split a lot, and it was less like, oh, it's me and this group, and then like Joko kind of came in and we were kind of like getting him acclimated. But when it was 2 new people and I was still half new, and it was just Poe and Emran, and the group was no longer like, it didn't feel as much like the Grim Troop and Artie kind of joining in. I suddenly felt like I was now in the center of it, and I was the one. That's, I think, where Artie took on the mediation role of like trying to make sure that they didn't literally just kill each other all the time, which now I don't need to do as much. But I think that's where he kind of, now he's taking that like almost fatherly figure further, where everyone's like coming to him with like secrets or like things they want to get off their chest or advice, like they know they can trust him. And I think that's what I really enjoy going with Artie. I enjoy him being that sort of like rock that everyone can rely on, and like, you know what to expect when you come and talk to him. You know he's gonna give you support and hold your secrets true. And I think that kind of all started once Fen came, because they really like spiced up the party in a fun, different way, where I think the whole dynamic of where I was really helped me come into my own.
That's great.
Incredibly wholesome.
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
I love that, because you're absolutely right that like before it was always, you know, the history of the Grim Troop, and then the antics of the Grim Troop, and then you joined the Grim Troop. And like now we're in this phase where we're basically like creating a new group identity, because we're only two of us, Emran and Poe, are from the original group, and everyone else is new. And so like objectives, like life objectives, super objectives, everything is just different for people. People have different priorities. So we're in this phase of like figuring out what we care about and what we want to do, and like what our group even means. Which, you know, now that you said it, I hadn't really thought about, and that's so true. That's cool.
Also, we found out Mephisto is a dick. So there's that.
Oh my god.
We can curse in here, right? So that was okay? All right, cool. Yeah, all right.
Oh, that was incredible.
Do I have to explain that one? I think I have to explain that one.
Do you?
I think you do.
I think I do, yeah, because that was pre-stream. All right. Well, Zach, do you want to explain it from your perspective? I'd be super interested.
Was that? Do you think like a big shift for Emran? Was that her shift? Was finding out about?
Yeah.
it, or-
I mean, another pre-stream bomb drop. I think also when I slit the Lady of the Night's throat, that was really a big one. That's a whole story. But if we're talking about the Mephisto one,
It's a really nice way of putting.
you know, trying to
moving on, moving on.
way.
yeah.
Very
This is a
euphemistic
family
way of
stream.
saying you murdered a prostitute. But
Someone said
He-
it
We
wasn't
can't
me.
be
I was
demonetized
involved.
already.
You know,
Andrew, how dare you?
we could have left it at Lady of the
D&D,
Night. And
D&D.
it could have been a mysterious title that no one knew about, but that's all right. That's okay.
Yeah, no,
He was
I-
involved-
Curtain has been lifted.
No,
He
I
was
straddled
involved
somebody and brutally
in an
murdered
incident.
somebody. Yeah.
he was involved in an incident wherein a woman who practices some a form of labor passed away.
From
It was her time.
from
By
mysterious
my
causes.
Natural causes.
Everyone's
I also
hand,
happened
yeah.
to be there with the weapon that ended her life.
But talk
So
to us about Mephisto.
Yes, absolutely. Daniel, I wanted to make sure because there was a little bit of an audio cut. You
Yeah.
were referring to me to kind of do that. Was that what you were asking?
I mean, if you want to, it's I can
Absolutely.
also take it if you want to. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And to answer your question, I think there was a shift. I think there was a shift for a lot of us with what happened with Mephisto. Basically, what happened was, and this is we're talking day one of the campaign. Mephisto was the Grim Troop's leader. And it was not only this like powerful being that had a lot of wisdom that led us as an acting troupe, but also was a compass for us in a lot of ways. It was a father figure in a lot of ways to the troupe and
Our
for those
group
original
daddy.
characters. Yeah. Like there was joking nicknames of Daddy Fisto and what, but like they're like at the end of the day, Mephisto was our guide. And as it turns out, from day one of the campaign's conception, a character that we know today is actually the same person, which is Alucard. So, how we came about that knowledge was because we were going after Alucard. There was an incident that happened in me and Poe's hometown where a quarter of the city was destroyed by a bomb of silence. And that was our first introduction to Alucard. Chased and looking back was one of those kick yourself moments of this weirdly familiar and comforting interaction with Alucard as we discover, the villain of the story, if you will. And on the seizing of and attempted destruction of the Iron Copperguard Island, on that infiltration, standing there with a line of the enemies that we had accumulated and targeted through the course of the campaign up until this point for probably, I think, 9 months. Daniel, fact check me on that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Stood Mephisto at its head, and then the reveal of it indeed being Alucard. Since that, we were given a choice in that moment to join or fight. We chose to fight, almost to our detriment. And thank God Artie had joined the party at that point. Because Homeboy saved all of our butts. And then,
It's basically like if Gandalf was Sauron all along.
Yeah, basically.
It was
That's a fun way to put it.
It was Agatha all along, actually.
All along. Yeah. Absolutely. I remember just talking to Daniel about that from just DM to DM about plans for that and getting to see the maps that he was making for all this. And I was genuinely excited to hear about how it went down afterwards. So hearing about it from you all now, it must have been just a mind-blowing moment that I can see why that'd be a shift for a lot of the characters in there. Something that they believed from their core turned out to be the opposite. That would change anyone.
I think it was one of those moments where we were pushed out the nest as a group before we were necessarily ready. It was like when we were sitting in that fourth dimension arc and that's how we kind of got out. There was a bomb of silence that went off. Artie rope tricked us out of there, and it was Daniel figured out that puts us in a different dimension. So there we go. We're on a different plane. So while we were actually there, there's kind of an ironic dichotomy where we were floating through space and time, but we were also like the umbilical cord of kind of what had strung us all together had been cut. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think since that and during that arc was really when Fen joined up, funny enough too, and that was we had a different group at this point. Like that battling was kind of like the last days of the Grim Troop. I think a little bit this conversation is showing if we agree on that. I think that since that it's really put us in a whole new dynamic. So yeah, and now we fight Alucard, and there's definitely still some bitter feelings for Emerin, but we'll get there when we get there.
You got some things to face later on.
We'll deal with that when it comes.
Andrew, what about for you? What was something that was a pivotal moment or shift, whether it was on stream, in the game, or in the backstory for Joko?
I would say the most pivotal moment for Joko was Emerin bringing Poe back to life because he got to come into the campaign because Sweeney was pissed about that and then left.
Yeah.
But as far as a really pivotal moment for Joko, I don't know that he's really had one yet because he's still kind of the same person as when he joined up.
Interesting, and it'd be interesting to see what happens. Will Joko continue on the path that he currently finds himself on, or will there be a shift later on? Which we will answer some questions about that later, hopefully. But I do also want to take a question from Becca while we still have everyone here. This is again for anyone who wants to talk about this. And Daniel, I'd imagine that you could also answer this as well.
Sure.
Have you learned anything about yourselves from playing this game, from playing this campaign with each other?
That's a tricky one.
Nothing. Learn nothing. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Well, I mean,
What are we doing tomorrow?
it could be very well that you're like, no, I mean, I knew who I was before I went into this game, and I still know who I am. Or you found out something that you might not have known by playing these characters and telling this story with each other.
I don't know about myself. I learned that I was a terrible DM when I DM'd.
That is so untrue. That's so untrue.
No,
dude.
no.
It's such a fun time.
You did not see the first time I DM'd.
Oh.
Andrew can vouch for me there, right, Andrew? No, I think I learned a lot about like D&D in general, and I think I had like higher expectations. Like I learned a lot about what like a good party dynamic is, and like what a good DM is. I know Daniel will hate me saying it, but like how he handles a lot of situations I think is really impressive, and I think I learned a lot from, maybe not like about myself, but I've learned a lot about D&D from here, and like certain attributes of us as a group. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that D&D is so interesting because it's improv, right? It's not scripted. So like the majority of what happens comes out of Daniel's brain, but then sort of like how we all maneuver through it, we all do together. And I don't know, it's interesting because there's so much conflict in D&D, right? Constantly. We fight with people, there's objectives with people, we need to get something from someone, we steal from people, we fight monsters, blah, blah. There's just a lot of conflict. And it being improv, it feels like there's this connection between like real life and the D&D, and there's not a lot of conflict in like my life. Like sometimes I'll have conflict with people, get into arguments with people
But you're hardly fighting a dragon when you go down the street.
Yeah, I'm not like trying to infiltrate a base to like steal something from some like evil like that doesn't happen.
What? We did that
So
last
I think I
Thursday,
just
man. I meant so much. How'd you forget?
I said not on stream.
Don't
Jack.
tell
I
us
said
we're
not
on
on
stream. We're on
stream.
stream.
We're doing it next
Don't
week.
wanna-
Jesus.
All right.
Yeah, no conflict.
I guess
But
I
I
guess
think-
someone else is getting his cut now then. Right?
Oh shit. Yeah, Zach, you're out. Okay. But I don't know. Yeah, I think I just like it's that feeling of like these new human experiences that you don't have in your everyday life, that you have in this thing that is fake and fantasy. But because we're all improvising, we're all a little bit just ourselves, like doing this stuff. So I don't know. I learn a lot about myself, in like how I argue with these people, or how I save a life or something. These things that I don't do in my everyday, you know. And that's not really a specific thing that I learned, but
But I mean, I understand what you mean, because
yeah,
it's you're put in these life-threatening situations that hopefully in the real world you don't ever have to experience, or if you do, it's once. But the question is always like, how would I act in those situations? And while this of course isn't genuinely life-threatening, you at least get a taste to see like, oh, okay, that's how I handled that conflict and that emergency situation.
totally.
So I mean, I definitely understand learning about yourself through that, in that sort of way.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, we're all actors. I mean, Kyle, you say you're not an actor, but you are now. So
You've been killing it. You've been killing it.
but
I'm
like
trying my best. treading water at best.
But when stuff is scripted, it's someone else wrote it, and even when you do improv in like a improv group or something, it's bite-sized, right? And this is like extensive. You are these people for months, years,
long form improv.
Years now.
Sure.
long form. So, yeah, it's cool. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, I think I can go unless Andrew wants to jump in. So I think it's less of like what I've learned about myself and more things that have been affirmed. Kind of DMing. DMing is weirdly, it's a very selfless act once you know like how much it takes for a long time. And I don't mean that as like Daniel the philanthropist, but like even you as a Jared, like you as a DM, like you like work up like intense
Absolutely.
amounts of creative energy to like expend it every week, right? And you don't get to do that unless you have that capacity in you for that, right? And I kind of already knew that. That's like kind of where my heart like leads into kind of the way that I always go, but like it kind of affirmed that I'm like, oh man, like I really love like gifting my friends with these experiences, not because I'm like, hey, look at my art, look at this cool world I made. Like it's more often that I'm like, I want to show you this cool thing for you as a gift for you so that you can keep it and hold on to it and have good memories to hold on to, or like put you in these situations so that you can experience more or have like these different kind of emotions which you might not get to experience, and like for us in like the quarantine, like I was desperately trying not to, like we had a whole arc that lined up with like a lot of the social justice movements surrounding Black Lives Matter about violent protest and non-violent protest, like which lined up kind of coincidentally in the game. And I wanted so desperately not to make it my thing or my like commentary on the situation. I just wanted to give my players an avenue to express any of the emotions they had about it in this way, in a safe place where I could cradle them, even if without like consequence, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a game. And I didn't realize that it was going to be unlike, but that's naturally where my mind went. And so for me, it's really cool that I got to like affirm that part of myself that loves to take care of people and loves these friends of mine who, bring so much life to me and to this crazy world that I imagine and that doesn't make sense. I'm really grateful for it. But then on top of that, like, it also, I think, like, without us playing D&D with each other for like a year and however many months now that we've done it, like, we would not have been able to start this. I'm for real. Like we've had a couple disagreements and stuff, and we've had like times where we've had conflicts with each other, but like because of like the way that we've done D&D with each other, like I know like Gavin probably more deeply than some of the friends that he went to university with, like because like we've played with each other and I've seen him like almost lose his sister and like have to like revive her and figure out what is he gonna do in that situation, right? And then like, so then like when I'm having a conflict with Gavin or like when we're talking about something, I'm never gonna be like, dude, I don't freaking understand you, like, why can't you see things my way? Like, it's always like, hey dude, like I love you, like we're having a disagreement, let's like how can we navigate this and move forward together? Because we treasure this friendship that we have. And there's not a lot of relationships that you can say work like that. And the fact that I can say that I have at least like 6 of them with each of these players is crazy and
Absolutely.
really awesome. Like there's no other game in the world, I'm like convinced, that does that.
I would even go even further and say there's not a lot of just things in this world that do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to this game in particular, and why I'm sure some of you can attest to this as well, is just first of all, the storytelling aspect of getting to sit around and do the most human thing possible is just tell stories with people. But like you said, it's this bonding experience of getting to go on an adventure and getting to do the things that you don't get to do in daily life with these people that you do get to grow closer with. You do get to know more deeply on a personal level, and work together to solve problems and try to bounce ideas off each other. It's a great way to sort of go through conflict, like you said, without consequence.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Looks like Andrew's got to bounce. See Andrew.
See Andrew. Yeah, he's super tired. So
Hi,
makes
Andrew.
sense.
He
Have a
got
good
his
brother, we love you.
vaccination, so he's exhausted.
Nice,
Text.
nice. But
Let's
yeah,
go,
oh
dude.
boy, kicked my
Second
butt.
back
For
to
sure.
Deucey, yeah.
We should have
Yeah. But yeah, that was great. I think that pretty much sums up the general questions that I wanted to go through with everyone. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit and get a little bit more in depth with well, first of all with Zach, because I got to talk with both Gavin and Kyle before. So Zach, with Emran, first of all, so you've been like Kyle?
Oh, Kyle think has to go as well. Yeah. Kyle has
Okay.
to go as well. He said that he had to leave pretty early. So
Okay,
yeah.
no worries. Bye-bye, Kyle. So Emran so you yourself have taken a step back and are just recently sort of getting back into things, but Emran has been here, and the last like big thing for her was learning about your captain. And I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit about, as much as you want to share here for everyone, I mean, how did that, what was going on in your head when you found that out?
What I gotta know is how much of this has come out in sessions before we.
Since then,
We haven't talked about it since you've been.
it's as much as you want to talk about it or not. It's up to you.
Okay. All right. So I've seen clips and bits, but I'll be honest, I haven't been able to sit down and watch all the full sessions that have been going on.
Bro,
while I
you've been
haven't
running
been
shows,
here.
dude. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I was just as soon as I was like, I didn't even know we had talked about that. I thought that was still a buried secret.
It was when we met those people in the woods, the 3 people, and they said they were going to Busan, and that there was a captain there.
That's
That
right,
conversation
that's
was the
right.
last time we heard of any of it.
Okay. Jared, do you mind repeating the question to me now that I'm calibrated in this situation?
So when
Thank you.
Emran heard that her captain was around in
Yes.
Busan, what thoughts, what feelings were going on for Emran?
So I'll say this and leave the rest up to when things become discovered, as they do. There is a history there. I will say that Emran does not know what she's gonna do when she sees him, if that ever comes. I think Emran's half wanting it to happen, and the other major part of her is like, let's accidentally end up in another 4th dimension. No, I'm just kidding. So completely like just misses ports, you know what I mean? Doesn't have to confront that situation. Yeah. I will say this about her relationship to this person in game and in the backstory is that I was very close to this person. During the this is the person that taught me how to use daggers. This is a person that like is another Mephisto type character in my life. And there was a falling out half on account of half on account of other things that happened within our family that were out of my control. That took me away from that relationship. And I'm sure a lot of that is to come out. But there's a lot of me that did not want to ever leave that ship with that person. So things kind of fell on a bad note, and I'll leave it at that for now. And let's just say there's some fun things to come. That some of which I'm really excited to deal with, and other things I'm like, wow, this is gonna take some interesting turns for a D&D session.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. What you could there. Now, for you, Gavin, we talked a little bit about this, but has any core roleplay of Poe changed since like becoming a Hollowed One and entering into this pact with Grost, or has he really sort of stayed kind of the same with just this underlying like knowledge of what awaits?
I think he has changed. I would say, oh, it's so complex, man, because like there's all this stuff that Poe does and no one trusts him. I think day to day is so much higher stakes now for Poe. Before it was like, ooh, that chick's cute. Oh, that dude looks good. Oh, what's the adventure today? And now it's like, all right, there's a demon in my head and I'm trying to save the world. And like my I can't tell my friends everything, but I have to like I have a to-do list.
Sounds like a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Gavin, remember the days of swindling grapes? And that was the biggest priority.
Chef's kiss. But yeah, I think just everything is higher stakes. I think I don't know, that's a really interesting question. I think there in so many ways, yes, he has changed. And I think that it's just out of necessity in the circumstances. And there's an extent of like he doesn't care if the people around him trust him or not, because he like feels like there's a bigger thing at hand. But at the same time, it's imperative that they do trust him. So it's this like balance of saying like fuck you to his friends a little bit to sort of like help them and protect them and sort of like get ahead in the situation. And so I think it creates a lot more conflict everywhere, which I think is great. I mean, like I said before, I'm stoked that Poe died. It's been fun since
only interesting situations for you, dude.
Yeah,
truly,
for sure.
Truly.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And
I have a question for you. Do you get
Okay,
a minor
yeah.
panic attack every single time I say Gavin or like Poe in the middle of when you guys sleep?
Yes. Okay. You said without the sleep, yes, I do. Just in general, but specifically every time we make camp or take rests or whatever, if we get to the end of the night and nothing bad happens, or I don't have a fucking vision, I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Wow,
Well,
that's
just
fun.
thank goodness it's not the dream spell that's affecting Poe, because that would be straight up not a good time.
As far as we know. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I love conflict in this game, man. Conflict's good. The more conflict, the better. I don't mind if we all have conflict.
Well, and speaking of conflict, how well, I guess
I want you guys to be
For-
nice to each other. That's me.
for you, Poe, how have you felt the past few sessions, sort of leading into where you are, and where is your mind at, your headspace right now? What are you thinking about everything that's been going on the past few sessions?
Okay, yeah. I think Poe is a little bit I think being in the Feywilds and doing this is enough of an avenue for him to be like, fuck you to all the other stuff, to like Grost telling him what's going on, to the like whole Triketra greater like save the world plot. I think Poe is very much, and this stems actually from a conversation he had with, and like so many people who are listening to this are not going to know who these people are, but he talked to Van Helsing, the leader of the Silver
Blades. Yeah, Silver
Blades.
Blades. That was on our session
Fucking
0. That
nailed
was in our
it.
session 0, yeah. So people can actually see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Session 0. But he talked with Van Helsing, the leader of the Silver Blades, and she was like, you are powerful and you have the ability to get out of these bad situations and do something good with it, or whatever she may have said. But I think since then, Poe has been very like, all right, all these like forces that are trying to control me, no, I have priorities. And now being the Feywild, like his priority is helping Finn and helping these people. And he's a little chaotic when it comes with his friends because he has these like strong opinions and like things going on with those forces. But I think it's freed me up and freed Poe up to just be a little like focused on the thing that we're doing right now, and a little bit of like the finger to everyone else who's trying to get in the way.
Well, that's fantastic. I'd like to now open it up to the both of you to ask Daniel any questions that you might have.
We always love this part of the talks.
Frick, dude.
And if there's anything that like has just been a burning question.
Dude, I was just vibing with my whiskey and listening.
I know,
to
and now I
Zelda
put
music.
you in the hot seat, my friend.
Crap.
How do you memorize all those lines?
Which ones?
No, that's.
Oh yeah. We have a
talk
writers'
raps.
room where we write full out scripts for all of our shows. And, yeah, we rehearse daily.
We have an audience talk back with the cast.
We do
if you
indeed.
want to ask them any questions.
My stage manager gets on me if I haven't memorized my lines. So.
Tell me you're a theater kid without telling me you're a theater kid.
This conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Zach, do you have one you want to go with?
Excuse me, I'm not a theater kid. I'm a thespian.
I'm sorry, Mr.
If you don't, Zach, I have one.
Dude, if you have no
go for
questions,
it.
I'm great. I'm out. I'll see you guys later.
I have one, but Gavin, you go for it. Mine is I'm figuring out how to exactly word it. Go for it.
Let's go.
Okay, cool. Two-part. Okay. Easy question. How has DMing changed for you now that we're streaming? And I don't mean like you also have to do the computer like stream overlay or whatever, but like DMing the campaign, is it different for you? What is that like? Do you care? All that sort of stuff. Or like, do you care about the difference, or do you,
dude? You know me.
Well, no, yes.
I'm the
okay,
dude
to be
who's
clear,
like,
I know you
"Guys,
care a whole lot.
I missed that one sound cue, and you guys are like, Daniel, shut the fuck up. You're like that's what you guys do it all the time. You guys like, what is wrong with you, dude? Like we would have never noticed, you know? So
I
yeah,
rescind that part of it.
yeah. So, no, you're good. You're good. I'll answer it. I'm mostly playfully making fun at myself. Yeah, it has changed. If I'm being honest, like the feel of it while we're playing. This is the thing I'm super grateful for. While we're playing, I like forget everything, and it's like super fun and easy, and like it's a great time, right? And even if I'm pulling like shit out of my ass, like it's a great time, and you guys are great, and like I trust you guys to keep playing and enjoying, and I will figure it out, right? It has been, I will say, like I'm sure, like if I'm being 100% honest, it's a little bit more stressful for sure. There's a little bit more pressure every week for me to go like, oh crap, I need to follow up on this, so this character's going through this thing and their trajectory is headed this way, so I need to start thinking of like 3-4 paces down the road, that one is going there, so I need to make this part of the world. There's a bit more of me like that's worried about continuity and like satisfying. Like I started to think more like a television showrunner, basically. Like I've been writing arcs for these characters like very deliberately, at least loosely. I'm not like this is exactly where they need to go, but I'm like mostly like this is where it seems like they're going to be pushed and they have to make a decision, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's been a little bit stressful to be like is this a good arc? like am I a good enough writer to like do this? So there's been a little bit of that. And then also, like, you know, we used to play on our home game, like, every 2 weeks, every month, maybe. So, and then play for, like, 6 hours. So I would have a month to come up with the amount of material that I now have to make in a week. So, like, it's a bit of a faster turnaround. And I've been doing it since last March. I've been doing it for a year and a month now. So it's a bit like like I'm like, oh man. I remember thinking to myself, because we took a break a couple weeks ago, because I think it's really good to have rhythms of rest and work. But I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm running out of ideas somewhat. It felt like that, and I was like, that's totally cool. I've been doing this. I like went back and I looked at all the sessions we did. I was like, I've literally created over 180 hours of content.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's okay to like be
Take a nap.
creatively a little tired and like maybe take 1 week off. Like I'm insane.
Totally.
Like why? Like I'm like, why do I feel like I have to perform at this high level? So that was a little freeing to take the week off and be like, it's fine. It's totally cool. And then thankfully my players are really generous. They're always like, Daniel, you're so good. I'm like, I appreciate that you think that, but like
We're not generous. You just are really good. So.
Yeah, seriously.
I appreciate that, man.
You spoil us.
I appreciate that. So yeah,
So
so yeah, it's been
breath.
good. So it's been a little bit stressful in that way, but I think that's like, but if I'm being honest with the whole experience, it's so much fun. It's really enjoyable, and it's really gratifying to have people who are like, oh, I like this thing that you guys are doing. Like, I will choose to take my day off and like just listen to this show every week. Like, we have people who come back every single week to watch and listen, which is amazing. Like, that's so gratifying for something that you're like, this was just like a game. That was so yeah. So at the end of the day, like, I'm very happy with where I am. There are a little bit more anxieties that come with it, but I'm generally working through them pretty well. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean, when there's an audience, you automatically gain the perspective of like, what is this like for someone that's not participating and just witnessing?
I don't
know?
care about that as much. It's I'm less worried about their thing than more like consistently making it good for you guys. It's like it's kind of like good things for you guys equals good viewing basically. So it's kind of like one to one.
Totally, but
Yeah.
I think to an extent you can't escape it a
That's
little
true.
bit. You know,
That's
you
true.
know people are watching, so your
Watching,
brain
yeah.
automatically is like, there is
Stakes.
something to be experienced outside the six of
Mhm.
us.
Oh, right.
And you know, it's whether it's someone live watching or it's somewhere, there's just, I mean, I think we all feel that because it's
Yeah.
true, you know.
Yeah,
And again,
I
it's
try
good or
not
bad,
to.
just true.
I try not to because our vision is so like it's us. Right? It's us, but
Yes.
like, you know, I can't escape it. That's true. That's true. I'm being
For
honest.
sure. Well, great
All right,
question,
Zach,
great
you're
Good
up.
answer.
question. Good question.
Zach?
Good question.
Shoot. Okay.
Dude, just give me
I
an
know I-
in-game question too. If you're like, dude. Why...
Yeah, no, I know what I want to ask you, but I had something, and that was all so good that it just like whoop. All right, it's gone.
No.
It's okay. It's okay. They come and go. Life is a fleeting moment.
With Zach,
The-
the billion ideas, they flow. They just keep
Let
coming.
the air in. Let it pass
you know,
gas.
like,
Yep.
yeah. No. There's so many things I want to ask, and then we get here. All right, let me just throw something.
Sure.
Just out the, just grab it. And then throw it at you. When it comes to our characters, and the way that you see, because what you were talking about when you were saying, okay, the way that certain characters, the way that I see them naturally going, and like what I put in their way to like challenge them in certain ways. And just to make sure we're speaking in the same language, you're not referring to NPCs, you are referring to us, like our characters that we play, right? Yeah.
Of course.
When it comes to that, how much of us and our progression do you, I guess where are the strings? How much do you encourage? I'm wondering of how much of like when you see something, you're like, I like that. Let me pluck that and emphasize that, if you will. Like, is it like could you give me an example of what that looks like? Because I'm really curious to demystify that. Like, is it like okay, this person is like getting a little bit fighty right now, something as simple as that, let me just throw an enemy in their way? Or is it like now this person, for example, like my character, right? Like my character, one of their biggest turning moments was when I stopped being a little shit and I started helping the party.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry,
and
when did that happen?
you know, Oh God, I love it. I love
Wow.
it.
Jokes.
Forever
We
the fucking
swear
monkey
we
child.
love
Let's
each
go.
other on this game. We're just really fucking mean to
Yeah,
each
but
other.
what is it?
While the
and
camera's
really just
on.
me, I cause so many problems in the fucking campaign that whenever they can, they're like, yeah. But no, really, this
That's
is like an
funny.
out of our.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a
Does
couple.
this make
I'll
question make
give
sense?
you a couple. All right, so here the mainly more often than not, I try to. It's less like I don't like this behavior Zach's doing. Shunk and and then I aim for that. Like that is 0% what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the character that you're building and what you're interested in telling. I will like gravitate toward what you're naturally gravitating toward, like storytelling wise, and be like, oh, you're interested in telling that? Let's dive deeper there, right? So you went and killed a prostitute, and I went, all right. Like and Zach was like, I don't know why I did that. Like I suddenly feel terrible. Like I remember you coming up to me and being like, bro, like I don't know how to feel. I think I'm evil, dude. And I was like, all right, okay, let's talk about it. And I was like, if that's what you want to explore, sure. And then I just created a bunch of consequences from your actions, which made sense, right? They were like I had reasons for what they were in universe, but I just had consequences go, and it was Emran's reaction to decide what to do. You could double down and keep going down the path that you were going on, or what you ended up doing was going, you know what I'm doing is causing a lot of inter-party conflict and a lot of like breaking relationships between me and my friends. I'm sorry, I'm going to try and work on this, which is what you did it. And you're not perfect like any human, but that's the direction you moved in. So I don't think Emran's evil. I don't. An evil person wouldn't show remorse. And that was a question for you. It was like, does Emran want to go down this path? You absolutely could have. It would have had major consequences because that's just how those actions work out. But like, and just because how it was linked into the universe setting. But like, and it ended up working out for you guys. You guys ended up becoming friends with kind of allies with the Open Hand Guild, and things ended up working okay. But I think it really came to a head with Poe and Benedict's letter at the lake. So, and that one was, I did prompt Gavin a little bit in the background, but mostly because I thought it'd be a satisfying moment for both of you. And that was it. I try not to do that when I can. I try to make it come organically, but just because it was you two and it was such a beautiful little moment where it was just us playing, I was like, okay, like I think this might be a good time. So stuff like that. That's a good example. Let me think of other examples. There's other things. There's things that like, themes that I like, things that like, maybe you guys want to go for. I don't like if you guys don't go for them, that's totally fine. I'll keep shifting it. But like, it's not a coincidence that I had a big beautiful dragon come up and tell you guys to be nice to each other. Or that you guys sucked at being family, because you guys might say that you are, but you guys are terrible at it. Because I think that's an interesting thing. Like you guys are mean to each other, and then you guys will be like, yeah, we're family, we're the Grim Troop, like this is our identity, we're like together, right? And then here's this guy who's been watching you guys, observing you guys fight as you guys like continue to like march up the summit and like lie to each other, lie to the Switch, lie to like all these other things, and he's kind of like, you guys say that you're a family, but like, and like I can see that you guys are doing some good, but like, man, you guys are all sorts of dysfunctional, right? And I think that's fun because now like they can choose whether they want to or not, but like now I've put the question like, do you guys want to become a better family, and what does that look like? Right, so now that question is in the player's lap, and I'm not gonna say like, oh, if they don't become a good family, time to kill them all. Like it's like they're gonna continue on, right? But it's now a question, and that's kind of all like DMing is. It's like, here's a question, like, what's your answer, right? It's kind of how it goes. So I do stuff like that, things that I'm interested in exploring.
That's so wonderful to know, Daniel, because that makes a lot of sense why things feel so three-dimensional in this campaign as just speaking for myself here as I'm walking through it, and have those moments of crossroads and decisions that really makes it out of a person with a personality quirk doing a quest versus trying to create like true human intent and like an actual arc to something that feels personal. So that's really beautiful to know. I'm actually really happy that
Yeah.
you shared that with us just now.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
really
not gonna
cool.
give you the whole peek behind the DM curtain.
Of course.
Like,
You know,
look
we don't need to
behind-
see how.
Don't look behind this.
Yeah, we don't need to see Oz completely. Like,
Yeah.
it's just nice to know where, like, that the projector is where kind of that it's a projector. You know what I mean? That's interesting.
There's some stuff there. There's some stuff that just kind of just happens. It's just serendipitously, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I take note. I have little session notes where I go, oh, this person did this. Oh, this person did this. You know, if there's something that interests me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in that sort of vein, I do want to ask this one last question before we go. Is
We're out of time. Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. It flies by so quickly. But as a parting little thing, favorite moments of this campaign, whether that is a funny moment that you think about and laugh, or a moment that you were like, oh, this is it. Like, we are in this. Just
Andrew is so mad that he's not here now. He's like, crap! I've been wanting to talk about this all year.
Ooh.
Okay. I want to pick something that's happened during the stream, so anyone watching has like something to attach it to.
I mean, you
so I'm
could
trying to-
could do that has been on stream, or one that hasn't. Like, you could do both if you wanted to sort of like give it like a on stream moment. This would be, but overall, this is what it is.
Totally.
For sure.
I think I answered this like a couple weeks ago. So like,
You did, yeah.
my favorite thing about this campaign, my players.
Uh-huh.
I'm not lying when I say that. I'm being a little cheeky, but I do love you guys.
Love you too.
Yeah.
Part of me was like, oh, that's so sweet. The other part was like, get out.
Exactly what I want. Exactly what
Get
I want.
out.
Yes.
It's the vibe I'm going for.
Yes.
Go.
Nah, Zach, you go. I don't have a formed idea.
You know what's so funny is we did the exact same thing. I don't have one either. All right.
They have no favorite moments of the campaign.
They don't.
They don't
They
like
hate it all,
anything
yeah.
I've ever done. Makes
They
sense.
hate it all.
Nothing.
I will share this. Because frankly, like a lot of Emerald's moments have come pre-stream. That's not to say that there isn't more to come. But it has been so cool watching Fen grow. I think has been really interesting during the stream. Fen has had so many interesting moments. I mean, let alone that we're in the Feywild and experiencing all this as it unfolds. But I think watching that and learning and having these interactions with them has really been a fun tidbit of these are the two characters that are really bad at connecting with other people. And there was that really funny moment on the last session I've been a part of since my brief hiatus, which was Fen trying to say thank you, and then me end up getting frustrated and walking away and all this. That was a really fun one to experience. And then I think that one of my favorite moments during pre-stream was definitely okay. So this is where I think the game and the RP become a favorite thing of the same, which is post resurrection, because that was a moment where we used all of the advantages of this being a game with dice, like the whole nine, as well as it being emotionally motivated, a real moment. It's one of those moments where all the elements combine together, where just in a flood of whatever, a character steps down and then goes, I have a crazy shit idea, here it is. And then you hear that faithful roll a D100. And those moments, as soon as you hear that from your DM, they always take a special place in the context of your all's campaign together. And also, it was just like a fun thing. It was rolled as a 66, and it happened to also be about a demon and all that. Like, just serendipitous as heck. Yeah, yeah, kind of fun, right? And then just the whole imagery that Daniel created of the dagger lifting up into the air and it pulling to ash and then drops down, and this whole, and then Sweemy's letter to follow. Anyways, I don't want to get down that road because it'll probably be a lot of things to try to bullet point and talk through, and that's a session in itself. But that moment for me, I mean, that was a moment where the entire group was hand in hand surrounded around a dead Poe. And we had a moment of total helplessness of, is this person dead? Now, obviously, Gavin's not dead, and Gavin could create another character, but we really freaking like Poe. We don't want Poe dead in the game. So is Poe dead? Is Poe dead to all of us? And we circled around, and we got to have this special moment together of Poe going through this dramatic shift and this dramatic thing happening in game. And it was just, yeah, like I said, it's cool when all the elements of what D&D is, plus being like a long form improv storytelling device, really function together. And you're like, oh, okay, this is why this game produces such great experiences for all of us, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's that must have been, was that the first party death?
No, the first party
No.
death was earlier. It was Melchizedek.
Oh, okay.
He is a tree right now in the material plane,
Wow.
which is you guys didn't understand, but I referenced him in the ceremonial grove when I said that the elves were turned into trees, the Eladrin were turned into trees, and I said that you guys see faces in the trees that remind you of a friend from a long time ago.
Oh.
I did not.
I thought you guys
But
noticed
now I
that, but
do,
that's
and I
totally
love
cool. I'm just gonna glaze over that.
I'm glad you told
Yeah.
us now that. It's the
Yeah,
fun one.
that was Melchizedek.
Gavin?
Mine. This was a few months before we started streaming, not too long ago, when we went to Alucard's castle. We basically were in the ethereal astral plane.
Astral plane.
And we had just met Fen. And so now we had Andrew's new character, and we had Artie as his sort of new version as a wizard, and we had Fen. And so we sort of had this like the new group. And so we left the astral plane and we ended up at this essentially a vampire castle. And the castle was cool, and it was fun fighting all the vampires and doing all that sort of stuff. But it was just so cool to like walk that new ground of like Becca joining the campaign and this new character, and she was feeling kind of like, how do I enter this group? And you know, Kyle was saying earlier he was feeling that too with how does Artie enter this group? And that was when we were first thrust into a situation, and we were like, all right, how do we do this together? And that was just fun to do. It was very new and fresh and just kind of like beginner a little bit, and it was fun, and I just enjoyed forming that. And I do kind of think we're still doing that. I think we're just still like
so.
in that like process of
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because even though stream is like, we're beginning stream for a game that's been going on for a long time, like in some ways some of the relationship dynamics are like a starting out party, like that's gone through
Totally.
maybe 1 or 2 arcs and is still figuring
Yeah.
out what their identity is. It's kind of crazy. I was like, whoa, that's so interesting. I like that we're doing that like a year and like 8 months into playing this game.
holy shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's my answer. Yes.
Wow. Well, I had a blast. Is there anything that the three of you want to say before we call it a night here?
Jared, I want to thank you.
Yeah, dude, you're killing it.
Vote for Jared.
Great hosting. Thanks for doing this thing, man.
Yeah, man.
Of
Seriously,
course.
this has been
all,
fun,
all I
man.
have to do is sit here and prompt you guys to spout some really amazing stuff, and it's a joy to watch for sure being here. So it's no work here on my part.
We love you, dude. Let's stop. Everyone, for those of you guys who've been sticking around, thank you so much for being here. Please support Jared, our amazing host at JaredtheDM. Please. He's on YouTube. He's on Twitch. I'm not the host, but I just want everyone to give him a notch of love because I love him very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much. If there's nothing else, then I believe that we'll call the night here. Thank you again, as Daniel said, to everyone who has been here since the beginning or who is still here. And we appreciate each and every one of you. And remember that the world is full of darkness and horrible stuff, but it's always good to bring light and kindness into that. So make sure you do that. And I love y'all. I will see you later. And be sure to tune in tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time for our next stream.
For a real game. We're gonna be doing it.
Hey.
And Emran's gonna be back, which is gonna
I'm
be
back,
sick.
baby.
Woo! We'll see you guys then.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.